like he would for like. She just wants to make sure they're not passed over to me. As she feels that there's one person.
Oh.
I'm like, I don't think they passed you like that.
All right, it's a little after 6, so we'll get started. Today's Monday, April 28th. This is the Facilities Committee meeting. I'm your chair, JP Prego. I have Liz Fluke, Melanie Cunningham, Drew Bishop, Dr. Roach, and Mr. Mike Werbach, our esteemed Director of Facilities and Operations. Hopefully Keith will be here shortly. So looking for a motion to accept the minutes from March 17th.
Motion?
I'll second.
Oh, I'll second even though I wasn't here.
There you go. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I did get the report, so. Just have to vote.
Any opposed? All good. Moving on to old business, asbestos abatement scope and bid package update.
So tomorrow I have a meeting with the general contractor, the plumbing contractor, and the electrical, well, I think the electrical contractor's coming, but at least the other two, and the architect to do like a kickoff scheduling meeting, you know, to get a lot of the questions we have answered about the schedule so that we can then, you know, plan out the moving process, the clean out process, all of that, and you know, get ready for the project to happen. The big outstanding item right now is the furniture and casework quote. Barry Izette has had that information for over 4 weeks. We were told that it would be a 2-week process from the time they submitted the information to the vendor. They're supposed to have multiple vendors. I have not seen anything. So I've reached out. I've talked to other members at Barry Izette than just the architect that we have been working with.
Yeah.
I have let them know my frustration on that.
Okay.
So that's the outstanding item.
Are they offering any kind of explanations or? any
They're
feedback?
basically saying they're not getting it back from the vendor, which
Okay.
even if that were, well, obviously,
More than one.
Could be more than one, right?
but then they should have started the process sooner. You know, I look back at, you know, I have a short time here, but the district has definitely provided the information requested in a timely manner. Dr. Farina has a whole scope that was given to them. So there's really no excuse for it to be out this long. I will say right now, if we were to get it submitted and in, we're still within the time frame. We're looking at about mid or early July, which will need the casework about mid-July. So
Okay.
as far as what the lead times are that we've been told, we're
Right.
good. But as we talked about, there's no room for error.
Right.
So if there's a
We just
delay-
lost our buffer.
Yeah. Now, this is the casework, this is the surrounding built-ins and science lab desks. Everything else should be good, unless I go to the meeting tomorrow and find out otherwise, and I'll update you. But as far as what I'm hearing right now, we're good. So, you know, that would be tile. You know, even if we weren't to get the furniture in time, the desk chairs and stuff, we have those desk chairs. They're just not going to be nice and new and pretty. So, you know, I think we're in good shape. Obviously, we'll just have to see where that casework comes in. As you guys know, we've been waiting on it for a few weeks now, so.
Yeah. So I assume there's going to be some kind of communication that to save the furniture, like when demos happening.
Oh, yeah, we're going to move all the furniture out.
Okay. So
I mean,
we're going to do that? Like,
we're-
Upper Perk is going to do that, or we're going to have?
Upper Perk's going to move the furniture.
Okay.
Anything real big, we're getting a moving company to help with.
Okay.
Anything that's too big for our people. We're getting help from the moving company to move all of the boxes, which we're going to store in the building now, not in the pod. We're not getting the pods. And the moving company and the pods cost came out to even, so we're not spending any more, we're not spending any less. So that's nice. So we're basically going to keep all the boxes inside. We're going to utilize the library and the cafeteria. And then secondary to all that, we need to have asbestos monitoring. Right now, we use TRC for our HERA. They gave us a quote for $350,000 to do it.
Just
So
for this project.
just for this project. So I looked elsewhere, and this new company that I talked to, they come recommended from the IU, as well as they're in with a majority of the Montgomery County school districts.
Okay.
They gave us a not to exceed of 156. So, and
It's more better.
yeah, but that's also based on their estimates right now. So after tomorrow, I'll have another discussion with them as far as what actually from the asbestos company their schedules are going to be. And, you know, that may get adjusted, but that's kind of right around where we're looking right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to hopefully have this going to the board at some point soon as well. So in that, I also looked at our cost with them to do our HERA monitoring. And we would, if we went with them as a, what do they call it? The HERA designated person. They do all environmental protection in-house. So they do all of the HERA stuff, the lead testing, asbestos monitoring, obviously, air quality sampling. We would save $2,000 a year on our HERA monitoring and $1,000 a year on our lead testing by going with them. They're much more complete. They looked at the information provided by TRC, and they gave me a whole list of things that they would have changed and done differently. And so that's also, as long as you're okay with it, I want to put that on the board agenda as well, to switch over to them.
I don't have any
Just
issues.
got to check to make sure where TRC's contract
Right.
ends.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be on this
No, I
next
got you. I know,
one,
yeah.
but yeah, that's a good
It could be
point.
July or June or
Yeah.
maybe another year, depending on what was.
TRC is one of those that I've read all those reports, like air quality ones on 4.5, like for years and years. And yeah, it's one of those that they've just been, that we used forever.
Yeah, yeah, and I think,
If nothing's changed,
No.
yeah,
you know.
I think we'll get a better product.
On to any of those buildings and put lots of asbestos in them. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like for just for instance, for next year, their proposal was a 12% increase, and we're having less asbestos.
A
So,
whole school list, yeah.
you know, you
Yeah.
can see that.
Yeah.
So that's all I have for that.
Okay.
I have one for that. I'm working on an update for the board. I spoke with Mr. Kurzweg so that we can let the board be aware of the athletic impact from this summer and where things will be, as well as working with Mr. Flanagan to know that most likely they'll be at the middle school. So we're just piecing it all together. So I've got a report here. I'm going to touch base with Mr. Flanagan after, I think you're meeting Wednesday. And they've met with the middle school as well. Pretty much the administration and the people that are working there will be based at the middle school. I think at the end of the guidance hallway will be the main office admin, and then in room 122, the one that's just across the hallway from where you walk in, will be the high school office for working papers, that type of thing. But there's lots of questions going on, so I'm trying to get it all together and then package it up so we know where it is and we can begin to communicate that out.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that. I don't know, Bobby, anything that you sent me over your stuff, if anything you want to share specifically?
Yeah, no, when we met this morning about some of the other stuff for facility usage, it sounds like Sarah and I will be located in the home ec area, closest to the
That's the
area.
athletic entrance of the middle school, first door in on your left, for the athletic entrance. That's all.
Yeah, Ms. Siegfried asked to make breakfast once or twice a week, so we'll have to figure that out. Yeah, so we'll
She
be
won't
kind
be
of,
there anyway. Don't worry about her.
Okay.
The last piece, for me, the last piece I wrote myself a note is just kind of the marching band. It may already be solved, I just don't know the answer, what they're doing for summer, if they're coming.
yeah, I've been meeting with Mrs. Hildebrand, and we're trying to figure that out. If
Okay.
it's going to be based out of like 4 or 5 or at the middle school, we're kind of figuring out what type of area we could paint, a type of a field for them that they've used in the past, so.
Okay.
I know Mr. Flanagan was going to get in on those conversations, but her and I have been
All right,
communicating
loop
back
me in
and
when you
forth.
know.
Yep.
A couple of days, thank you.
Would it be too close for them to use the big field, the property we don't use in front of the high school?
That's probably not level enough. for
Yeah,
that.
Okay. Okay.
It's not as level as you would think. It's
Yeah, I know it goes uphill and
pretty
back,
sloped, yeah.
but, okay.
I was initially hopeful that they could use the middle school backfield, because it's a little small, but you
But it
don't,
might be
March May,
wet.
you don't go, well, of course, right?
Yeah.
But March May, you don't necessarily go past the 20s,
Right.
if you could do
Yeah,
something
that-
up there.
Sorry, that's what they're looking for, is like 20 to 20. The concern about using that is potentially if we have to paint that, the field may not, the paint may not be gone by the time we need it for field hockey come fall. So we're looking at potentially like the outfield of JV baseball
Okay.
to paint a field, or potentially going to the 4-5 center where we have an area where we have like a practice middle school football area, and of course, the middle school football field over there. So those are the type of things that Mrs. Hilburn and I were discussing last week.
JP?
Yes.
Bobby, what's the situation with weight room use and locating teams to use weight room facilities?
Yeah, so the coaches received information today. I've been working with Rob Carpenter. What we did was we asked all the coaches who was interested in having time to work out. They got back to me, gave me an estimate, a number of how many kids they would have. Rob then took those numbers and tried to make 3 time slots each day at their non-peak times. So like the larger teams, like a football is in an area by themselves where they may not have a lot of people. They're not charging us for any of that time. The only time that they're charging us for is when the water polo team is gonna have open swim for a lifeguard to be present, and it's not a lot of money at all. So they've been very, very good.
That's nice.
The timings are not maybe gonna be great for all coaches, but to be able to have that opportunity to work out of that gorgeous facility all summer, I think is gonna be something very positive for us.
Draft invoice for water polo is $360.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Just a straight rate for the.
Yeah, they're not making money or anything on it. So we're lucky that Rob is
Yeah, that was timing.
is there. So it's been,
Yeah.
I want to say there's like an 11 to 1, a 1 to 3, and maybe like a 7 to 9.
No, it's exactly the 3 time slots that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Would there be a trade-off for all the years that they came to us with their hands open?
They use the pool,
Yeah.
I mean,
what was that
It's
called?
great.
Community partner?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah, that's
finally.
fine.
So I think it's going to be, it's probably the best thing that we could have had, instead of trying to make a makeshift room somewhere at the middle school. I think it's been really good, so.
And once the abatement's completed at the athletic end and that area is cleared, will teams be able to get into the weight room from the outside entrance?
Yeah, once the abatement's done, absolutely. The question there just is that whole hallway in front of the gym, that's gonna take most of summer, because you have the abatement, and then they have to put the whole new grid in and ceiling tile. So, yeah, we could, once the abatement's done, and like I said, tomorrow I'll have a better understanding of what I think the schedule is for that. We can maybe get them back into our weight room, for August.
Yeah.
With
But the hallway going down from, let's say, Bobby's office down towards the weight room is
Yeah.
not being redone.
That's not, no.
Right, so they
So we
could,
would
once we
use an
get the air
alternate
cleaning,
entrance. Yeah.
you could use that other entrance to get in that area at least.
Yeah, and Mike and I have been talking when we've been meeting, and I've been meeting with Dan Heinrichs, because he's going to be the one that's probably affected the most. The football kids are going to take their helmets home with them, similar to what we did during COVID. And at this point, we're not going to have to move any of the equipment down from the 400 wing, because he said even if it's not open by the time football starts for shoulder pads and stuff, we should be able to gain access back there.
We're gonna do helmets on May 22nd.
Correct, yep. The Rydell rep will be out because of the new axioms.
Okay.
So we're working on a full plan of all these conversations,
Yeah.
and try to package it up so
Yep.
we're all aware. So
Excited to see that.
hopefully, I'm not sure if we'll have it by this Friday, but definitely by next week. That's-
Okay.
yep.
Getting there, so you stop and think about what a gigantic project this
Oh, yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
A lot of moving parts.
Literally.
All right, 4th and 5th, admin roof.
So that's still out there. The curb got delayed, but that's supposed to be in this week. So I do need to look into that, because at this point, I don't know if it makes sense to push it out to summer.
Yeah.
I gotta see who's what's impacted. But I think, from my understanding, they haven't had that unit running for a while, so I'm pretty sure we can wait if need be. And that might be what we want to do there.
The coil in the high school locker room?
That is done, that's
Yeah.
complete. And we will make sure that that does not happen next year when it's 0 degrees outside.
Okay.
Hopefully we don't get there.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably 100 years old anyway.
Yeah. The pavilion,
So I am hopeful, I'm hopeful that we can get this done this summer. I filled out all the documentation for the permits. It does need a grading permit because of the size of the pad. So I'm working through that now with the township. They've been very nice to deal with. And the PTFS is ready to pay for, the permits when needed. So hopefully we can get that in this week and wait for their,
have you talked to them recently, the PTA badge, just?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
We've communicated through email, but yeah.
Okay. I just know that the one person on there, Megan said that their quote went up by $10,000
What?
because they had to requote the project or something of that
Okay.
architect.
I will,
So they got hit.
So they got a heart attack, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'll reach out
Yeah.
tomorrow because I've just been communicating about the permit, but I'll reach out
Yeah.
and make sure everything's still okay.
While we're on Marlboro, the wastewater, that's all set, ready to go for the summer.
Yes,
excited about it.
it's either next week or the following week. I have the pre-construction kickoff meeting for that too. But yeah, we're pretty set.
And then access to that building is minimal.
It's minimal, it's just gonna be admin and custodial.
Okay. So the toilets will still flush. just
Yeah,
not-
the toilets will still flush, we just can't have,
Lots of people there.
lots of people there, running it. Because actually that wastewater, the park office flows into that wastewater plant as well, so, yeah.
When's that one scheduled to start?
I'm not surprised.
It's scheduled to start June 9th
Okay.
and finish, I think substantial completion is August 15th, just like the asbestos project. It won't take that long. It won't take as long.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, right. Where's some wood?
Get ahead of yourself. I like the optimism though.
We have a good contractor there too. Worth Company is a good one too, so.
Good. All right, the updated 5-year athletic facilities plan.
On their team here. Try it again.
That's weird.
Okay.
Go to screen. There we go.
Oh. That's weird.
Okay, so last month, we brought you this general 5-year plan to start off. We shocked the world here, and then we got some feedback from the group here in terms of prioritizing items. So I know this was mostly shared with the board, so we went back probably the next week right away and worked on a priority list, just did it by priority, so this was not necessarily years, just priority. And the group that worked on it talked about the turf there, goalpost to finish it, kind of all do the turf and track area as the one piece. Moving to a second priority, that would be the tribe piece in the back. But everyone talks about the GMAX testing, you know better than I do, in terms of, that's one measure of the turf. So we got those GMAX testing pieces, but there's other measures of the turf.
So, I mean, our turf is 12 years old. We've walked it recently. It's pretty hard. So like you said, you have the GMAX, which came back fair last year, which is not good or great, but it came back fair. So you can have games, but that's just for the head. There's still the lower extremities that, are worrisome. And the one field is very, very packed. We do have our yearly maintenance on that scheduled for July, which is the same thing that we've always had, same company. They'll be doing the GMAX testing at that time. Obviously, we'll report out once we have that, and they'll be doing the sanitation, cleaning, and all that. But my most recent walkthrough out there, it was very, very, very packed. You know, you hope for a little bit of bounce, and it's really not there right now. So, which is, I think, to be expected for a 12-year-old field that gets a lot of use.
Yeah, I mean, when we meet with, we've been meeting with companies, they're telling you that, they're telling people nowadays 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So 12 years for the amount of use that we get on it going into year 13, we've gotten very good use out of it.
I think when schools were getting 12 to 15 years, they weren't playing on it every single night, Saturdays and Sundays, youth sports. So, you know, there's just general wear and tear. And, you know, I know the grounds guys have the equipment, they're running it. So I think it's just, like I said, you know, it's just time.
The ultraviolet rays from the sun break it down too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can really tell that too with where you have the fibers kind of breaking from the sun, from the line of a field goal or the, you know, goal line and all that stuff.
I will say the fibers are all like this. You know, they're all pushed down, just like a carpet.
That's the next one.
Okay.
Just like a carpet at home, you know, it gets old, it starts to push down and not sit up straight, so.
Okay, so this was, and priority 2, the Tribe Stadium turf. So don't forget, if those two were together, there's a savings, but we wanted to do this by priority. That would feel a little better than the other one. Then the natatorium there, we kind of split it over 2 years, part 1, part 2. More thinking about if you were to do something there, being a 2-season sport, the spring would be the time to start something in the natatorium, heading into the summer, so you kind of hopefully can cross summertime into getting it ready for the fall, if that's even possible based upon the work that needs to be done there. And then again, priority 3, here, this is option 1 on the gym floor, but much cheaper, right, the last life, I guess, of the floor. And then, again, priority 5, and then I think we got the priority 4 and then put some other things that there's really no priority, just to maybe include some of these things in the general budget, not put it a part of a capital type of thing. Again, we try to put everything up there, and then this last column here, this wish list piece, was some of the stuff that's inside the KCBA study, some other way bigger things if you're going to do something else. So we tried to thin it out. So we shared this back, or I shared it back with JP and got some feedback, and then the request in between that was to get a little more detail in terms of, so on this chart here, I think we did have the cost per project, all that stuff is on this spreadsheet individually for the quotes and different things. But anyway, what we were asked for was a little more detail on the priorities. So this document was created and shared back with the board. Not wanting to wait till right now to show it to you the first time a month later. We had it, let's get it going. So this was then taking you through priorities and again, some rationale for each of those things. So I don't know if there's questions. Again, we're not here to ask for money. We just wanted to make sure one presented it, you know what's there, and we got other decisions with regular budget and those type of things. So
Yeah. So I guess one of the questions I have was, do we get multiple quotes for these, the ones we do have quotes for? Or is it
We didn't,
one?
we just kind of, when we met, we decided to get something so that we had an idea what it would be. Obviously, if we would get approval to do this, we would put something out to get more quotes.
Yeah, this is just budgetary. Yeah, if you were to say, hey, go ahead and get the turf done, we would speak to multiple people, get multiple proposals.
Yeah.
So is that ballpark?
Yeah, that's
Those are actual quotes, the majority of them are actual quotes.
They're actual
Yeah.
quotes, but they're budgetary. I mean, because even now, you'd have to get them re-quoted probably, you know, because time has passed.
Yeah, Keystone, I think, said these are 25, 26 quotes from them. Which
Okay.
they would, if we would agree to do it, they would hold those costs. I forget when they said they would need to know by, but I do believe those are good for 25, 26.
So one of the priority ones was a play clock for Keene Stadium?
it's
Yeah.
the rationale there was if you're ripping up all the
Yeah.
pieces to put the clock in at the same time, so you're running electric, because I don't think there's electric out there now, or
There's not, you'd run electric underneath, obviously, the turf, and then you'd have an outlet there for the track, the timing system, right?
Timing system, yeah,
Yeah.
that's there. We'd also put a post into the ground with padding on it, that it would be up off the ground.
Yeah.
So you would do that before you laid the linear carpet back down.
Where do we stand as far as like other venues and schools that we play at Do they have play clocks? Do they have things?
Some, it's a trend coming.
Anybody who's getting a new stadium is most likely putting it in.
I don't want to say a trend. It's something that came in 2-3 years ago.
It's been around, because we had them at State College,
Okay,
so.
maybe they
that's-
just got here 2-3 years ago that it started becoming, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 schools in our league have it.
Yeah, I haven't been told the packs, so.
Yeah.
If they don't have that, what do they have, a portable one?
No, there's, like us, there's nothing.
There's nothing.
Like, an official keeps it in his head where you see him kind of counting.
Have you looked at other options, like a portable or mounting a clock
Okay.
on the scoreboard and maybe another one down at the
Is
pole
that a good
barn?
email? Wasn't a good one?
You know, just other options. And one team we played last year, forget which it was, it wasn't a pack team. They had a portable on rollers.
Yeah, we looked at a couple options. The one that we put in here is the one that, speaking with Dan and speaking with Mike, is the one that like Southern Lehigh had. Our field hockey team played them in districts this year. We went up there where it's a 6-foot post up off the ground.
Yeah.
That it's visible from, that's some of the complaints about the portable is depending on where you put it, they can't see it over people. And so the one that we quoted out here was one that was a little bit
It also gets you the electric out there for the timing system,
Yeah.
which.
graduation.
Graduation.
Graduation
yeah.
right now, we
There's a
run-
lot of reasons to have a 120 volt outlet on, or two, one on
Yeah.
either end, in your stadium.
Yeah. So I don't think, at least from my standpoint, you're not gonna get much argument on the turf, being needed. I think it's kind of a common agreement. I don't want to speak for everybody that that's something that definitely needs to get replaced. But we know where we stand right now with the budget, thanks, Drew. So it doesn't look great. So have we ever reached out to anybody within the community or any businesses like, Titanium Finishing that could sponsor the field or scoreboard or something like that to help bring down some of the costs?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've not done a whole lot of that. I can tell you when we've been in our negotiations with St. Luke's, those type of discussions have come up because St. Luke's has done some of that stuff in the past, LVHN has done some of that stuff in the past, and unfortunately, they had no interest in doing something like that right now where they are. So we've not done any of that type of stuff, other than speaking to those 2 companies while we were having those discussions about our athletic trainers.
I already bought a shed, by the way.
I was just
Like
using that as an
$4,000.
example, as an example.
I know it's a lot of money. Our rentals are up this spring, which is lots of money, thousands of dollars coming in for outside organizations using it. So I know
Using
that
the turf?
money, yeah, they
Which is-
are.
But we don't
Need more
put that money aside for the turf though, right, Drew?
No.
Well, no, we did. We
We
put,
did.
yeah, it looks like it's about $222,000 has been set aside. So it wasn't, so when I got here, it wasn't, but I think that was a long-standing practice of turf rental.
$70,000 a year.
Roughly, yeah, yeah.
I'm just trying to look for other ways to try to help get this done. Just 'cause
I know, it stinks
like-
because that's like our cornerstone of, and I don't want to Title IX say this, but it's football. And,
Mhm.
Well,
that's the draw.
But to your point, JP, things like the clocks, football alumni, I'm telling you right now, they are a powerful group,
Mm.
and they've got a lot of money. So,
Yeah,
Do they have like
And I would,
$600,000?
well, I'm not saying for the turf, I'm saying for
I
the
know,
clocks.
I'm being
Yeah.
proactive.
and some of our booster clubs, I know the takedown club, touchdown club has talked about the play clocks in the past. I think if maybe the district looks like we're going to do some of these projects, they may have some of that interest to help out in some of those ways that they can.
Anybody else?
When the booster clubs have been trying to donate or give us, we've tried to do it as a way of sports-specific items. Play clock would be a great thing for the touchdown club to get because it's just in field, it's just in football, those type of things. So I think if.
But
once
do we have that relationship with them? That's something we can ask them or discuss
Yes.
with them? Okay.
You can squeak it in the policy too, or write it in names.
Yeah, we're working on that, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from committee, audience?
I have a question. When the asbestos is done, is there any more? that
Not on
has to be done?
asbestos.
Is it going to be completely done, or is there more to do in the future?
We'll still have a here report for the 4-5 building and Hereford, I believe. And they'll be very minimal at the high school. Very, very minimal. But there will be, like I said, a small amount. But all the tiles getting fixed, getting abated. All of the spray-on stuff in the ceiling tiles, all of the lab desk tables, tops, everything, there will just be a small amount of contained asbestos in the building.
Do we have to do any more abatement in the future, or is this,
No, it's all contained, so it's.
so we're done after this? No
Yeah.
more? Okay.
No more project.
Yeah.
But we will need to monitor it and keep reporting on it, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Back to
Go ahead.
athletics.
Yep.
It might be a good idea to invite the board to go on a tour of athletic facilities. Because other than myself, and you three correct me if I'm wrong, and Leah, correct me if I'm wrong, you probably haven't seen the athletic facilities up close and personal. So to get a better understanding of the condition.
I've been down with the pool.
Yeah, well, to get a better understanding of the condition, it might be a good idea to do a tour. At least
I think it's a good idea.
invite the board to do a tour.
Yep.
I haven't even done any of that for a while.
You know?
Yeah.
We had to do a
Um,
full board.
We can't be expected to just write a check for stuff. I mean, this is like,
I mean,
we all
we did it
know
for the
the
asbestos.
dire straits we're in right now,
Yeah.
financially.
Yep.
And
Well, JP, I really like your idea of looking externally, for support, whether it be businesses or the alumni clubs. I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg where we could really find, the problem is it's a little bit of time because we have to build those relationships.
Right.
And, this, the turf sounds like it's in dire shape. But I do think, the foundation is getting, its wings together about building relationships, particularly with the alumni, but also with the businesses in the community. What about some of the big businesses like the Knoll, obviously the healthcare systems are not interested, but maybe Knoll would be interested.
Walmart chocolate,
Yeah.
Walmart.
Walmart chocolate, for ad placement.
All they can do is say no.
Right.
And
It doesn't hurt to ask.
Some of these things with softball, the softball alumni are huge. We play a softball game every June and raise money for the team. I mean, they're a machine. So we've got to think outside the box with some of this stuff.
I mean, what's
I
the
agree.
timeframe for making a decision about this?
New chairs for the high school gym. Well, again, sorry to sound like a broken record, but at State College, we went out and got sponsors, and their sponsors got their names on the back of the chairs. It's just,
Well, the only sad part that I have to say about that is that in this area, and speaking as a business owner, we don't have a lot of choices around here.
understood.
And that's really hard.
But I'll tell you what, this is why I keep harping on alumni. And respecting and identifying alumni and recognizing them, because they've got money. And when you look at chairs for the gymnasium and sponsors, I'm not talking companies, I'm talking individuals.
Yeah, true.
So, again, you've got to think outside the box.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt to ask. All they can do is say no.
So
And
how
I'm
do
telling
we
you.
organize this? How do we get something like this to happen? Because I don't see us saying okay to this right now, or,
For 5 years
Yeah.
from now,
right,
if we're lucky.
we should have been looking at this years ago, but
Well,
now we're stuck.
Well,
Really?
it's developing relationships and
We already have relationships with Newell provides supplies for the shop. Bricolante in Trumbullsville provides money or supplies. And the other, there's a group in Red Hill, artistic, something or other.
Artisan
Yeah,
design?
yeah.
These are three that already support the school with supplies. And when I talked to the teacher about that, my fundraising hat went on and said, they're doing this at a very low level, and why not, let them put their names out in lights? And Bricolante is an international company.
Yeah, Leah, you call him Bracolante, I call him Bracolante, because I know Diane Bracolante. She's
Yeah,
a
my
great
dad
athlete,
is with.
she's a great athlete in
Related
Quakertown.
to her?
No, guys, enough.
Were they in the Red Hill Band?
She was an athlete.
Screw it.
No.
You
she
know
was an
what,
athlete.
you guys figure it out. You have fun figuring it out. You're
Well-
not getting my vote.
All right.
All right, but that's a possibility. I mean, somebody, whenever we talk about businesses, these are how we bring the community into supporting the school. And, I don't know what the plan would be to do that.
Yeah, I think part of that's the Ed Foundation. The Ed Foundation's definitely got an avenue to, if there's a
Yeah.
couple things on there, if it was, okay, if we can do these things, then let's try to fundraise for
Right.
these things. People will give money if they know exactly where it's
Well, they need
going
to
or
know
how it's
where it's
going.
going.
If it's alumni for the chairs or whatever the discussion is.
So is that the avenue to go then?
I don't know if that's not
Foundation?
going to cover the turf, let's say.
Well, I
But
understand.
It could be a big campaign, it could be a capital campaign for something like that if it was to get to that point. I think if we want to put some investment in marketing, let me ask Bobby, all the signs that are up around the stadiums, like that money goes where?
General fund?
Is it, so the football team gets a sponsor to put up a sign on the fence?
Yeah, they only did the one from Wawa. Sarah and I do all the other ones in the stadium where it's a $300 sponsorship, and that just goes into the general fund when we get it back.
And then, well, out of the 300, they have to, that also the cost of the banner?
No, unless if they want to replace the banner, then we charge them more. I think it's $450 to cover the banner, but the full 300 goes to the
So,
school.
to me, that's an internal program, like, if there was a commitment to say, why couldn't that be 1,000? Like, there's 20 banners, there's different ways to look at that, but is that a program that if I come into the community, that I can get a flyer to know how my business would, or is it just all word of mouth?
No, the way we did it 2 years ago, we actually, Nicole Light and I drove down Main Street and wrote down all the businesses and wrote down addresses, and we sent a letter to every single address in the community.
Right. And you-
That we saw. And that's what we get back. And Sarah and I were gonna try to do that again this summer. But it's traditionally the people that have done it year after year. We get 2 or 3 new ones each year from that type of
So
thing. but-
football's only done the one Wawa thing.
Correct.
What about baseball in baseball stadium?
Baseball does that. That goes towards the home run club.
Right, so that's another example there. Money's coming in, they're handling all those on their own,
Correct.
just because they have that stadium, so.
Yeah, that was taking place before I got here.
Understood, but there could be, not they want to take money from the booster club, there could be some conversations that need to happen about, it's on quote unquote the district fence, let's say, right? But that's a commitment to having someone spend time on that. I'm not sure how much more a communications person could take that on or athletics, so. But I think there's definitely ways to continue to work on it with a couple avenues there and,
I think we need to explore it.
yeah.
I think we do. Like I said, I don't see how we're gonna just go through.
Yeah, no, I don't think we were expecting anyone to make a recommendation tonight, it's just.
Oh, no, but it's just
For you said,
looking at-
what's the timeline, the best case scenario
Yeah.
would be something next summer.
Yeah.
That would be the best case scenario at this point.
Well, and, we could talk to the foundation about putting together a campaign and, doing the traditional, identifying potential donors, putting together proposals to put in front of them so that they can, say yay or nay. And, we don't have that much industry in this area, which is one of the reasons why we have to keep raising taxes. But, we have Walmart, we have all of these behemoth companies that, that I think would be, I would put them at the top of the pipeline.
Okay.
Okay.
So can we establish some kind of plan to try to address this?
What's the,
That's gonna be tough.
what's the goal? Like, what would be the goal? I mean,
I guess it would be, maybe starting with the Ed Foundation, reaching out to them and seeing their contacts or what they could do to try to start at least the conversations of, here's what the school's looking to do, like, turf.
is everyone comfortable with that priority one grouping that's there? To say, like, if we were to say,
Yeah.
we're gonna tick away at priority one, then that's $900,000. So that, if that's the goal, is to see how close, we can build a plan to raise funds or work on the marketing side of that. Every little bit will help.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for everybody, but
Yeah, I know, it's really hard. I want to say that I hope that we can do it that way. I am involved in a lot of, and not the fundraising part of it, but,
Right.
but I see who the funds come from. And I just feel like we're gonna have trouble with that. I don't
And you may be right.
I don't want to be Nancy negative here, but
no.
you got the open link, there's so many. We even got a thing at work for the yearbook, and it went up like $400 this year.
And the chambers ads and all that stuff went up, because you
Yeah.
see that on that side.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be realistic.
Sure.
Because I feel like I know this area well enough.
Can echo what Mrs. Cunningham saying, is a lot of times when we do have stuff out there, we hear that these same businesses get hit over and over and over again.
10 times a
It's
week.
becoming
Yeah, right. That's a
weight
lot.
bearing on them to continue saying yes, yes, yes. So we,
It's hard.
and the little thing, not a little, but the things that we do, the banners, and I know some of the fundraising that goes on. And I know we have the captain's posters, and I know a lot of the bigger companies aren't even allowed to put them in there because of their corporate and their rules. So we do hear that a lot now, that it's the same people that are hit over and over again in our community.
We may have Walmart, but did you ever try to get something from Walmart? Just saying.
And Drew knows better than
Because I
anyone,
know.
working with the athletic trainer,
Give them
potential
name-
contract,
give them
that
name
area
rights.
has dried up. Like, when I go to see my son in the band up in the Lehigh Valley, and they're at Nazareth Stadium, and it's St. Luke's right across the thing.
Right.
And I'm like, that money's not there. And I was talking to a principal yesterday.
Yeah, they put it right on the field at Nazareth.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's great, 300,000, come on.
Yeah.
It's, that's what, I don't know who knows what it was.
Suddenly, St. Luke's basically paid for that digital scoreboard with the video and all that. They basically paid for that, and now they're in the same boat, or St. Luke's is like nothing anymore, no more.
No more.
So,
All right, well, I'll work on it
Okay.
and keep it on there, but
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to be Debbie Downer about that. I just feel, it's going to be really hard. That's a lot of
Yeah.
money, especially when we're going to raise taxes a lot. And there's people that work all there, they all live here too. It's a lot of money.
well, the purpose of the plan was to, one was in our goal set to complete that to a degree that's, all that stuff can be manipulated, but we definitely can continue to work on it, so.
Yeah.
Now, do you want, there was a suggestion there about having a visit. Do you want to entertain the meeting in May at the high school? You want to entertain the August meeting somewhere at the high school? Or just have a separate day altogether, just come please listen?
Maybe we do August, so at that point, the asbestos should be wrapped up.
Mhm.
And we can do a quick tour there too, of all that work.
And I'll just work with Mrs. McCormick if we can have the normal meeting we have before this one there as well, that way it's all there.
It's the
So we're looking at
extracurricular.
the August, it's August 25th, it'd be the first day of school.
Okay.
I just looked at the calendar today.
Perfect,
Yep.
perfect time.
So August meeting at the high school
Yep.
for them. For a facilities meeting and tour.
Okay,
We'll work on it.
thank you.
Yep.
All right, enough of the old business. Moving on to discussion, presentation, security.
We are fully staffed,
Still fully staffed.
still fully staffed.
Okay.
I got that message on Friday from Mr. Blake. So even the 12 to 6 position is filled.
Great.
So we should be good and strong heading down to the end of the school year. Next year will begin year 3
I'll just say
with Cardinal Point.
we did a 3-year with them, right?
Yep,
So-
3-year. And I think there's an option, Drew, for a 4th.
I have to double check that.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
Definitely
sounds
heading
right.
into, definitely heading into year 3 next year. Much like athletic training, I'm concerned come the new cycle, supply and demand, now that we have, now that districts have that, that mandate to have someone that's in charge. Now, our person is Rodney, so that's not, we meet the criteria of that piece from school code about having the safety and security specialist separate from the security. But I think, in general, I think it's been a positive experience for everyone. A lot of the fears were there. We try to do our best to communicate that and have some similar people, so,
Okay.
yeah.
And the feasibility study.
I was just reshared, Drew, you had said someone had asked you for that in the board update.
Yeah.
So we reshared that with everyone. Again, we'll leave it there. We know we're not in any position, but I think
Yeah.
those numbers will slightly change, but, that'll all be a part of it. I mean, we're chipping away, right? We have a big summer coming, the roofs. and-
It's,
So,
we're gonna get stuff done.
yeah, we are. Yeah,
It's good.
yeah.
All right, new business, review of all the summer facilities projects.
You did the first two already.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the asbestos project we went through.
Yep.
The roof projects, we haven't had our pre-construction meeting, but all contracts are signed, we're starting to get clearances in. Again, I'm hopeful that's a nice, easy project for us. And I'll update after I have the pre-con meeting.
When's that scheduled for?
That one is scheduled for the second week in May. And that's just basically bringing everybody together to kind of say, what's our schedule, how do we, and then staging and
Right.
all the various components of it, so.
Yep.
And then we went over the wastewater, and then the access control, you guys just approved that. They started working on obtaining the materials for that. I don't really have more of an update at this time. I'm waiting to see when all the materials are going to be in.
Okay.
But that's a pretty easy project too, because it's just, they're bringing the stuff in, putting it in. The only issue there is just going to be access at the high school. So, I already talked to them about, doing the middle school, the other access points, because they do have access controls at various schools, doing all that, and then, ending at the high school, so.
Okay.
So thank you for your support on that one.
Well, that was a grant.
Yeah, that was a great
so-
one. You
We'll
still
happily
voted for
support
it, right?
that.
Yep, great, it's a good thing.
Yeah, you're right, that was a fully.
I hear myself say it.
All right, any public comment? Committee members?
No,
Good? I'm good.
I will make one.
Go ahead.
One of the things we do have to your point, looking externally. One of the things that I would like to see us do as a board is, I don't know how we do it, but do some sort of resolution to the state government legislators about charter school reform. It's a cost savings if that happens. I think we have to become more advocates for ourselves for some of these state and federal laws that are being, thrust our way. to get equitable funding for schools. I mean, we just went to the legislative breakfast last Friday, and all schools, you know, in Montgomery County for sure, and across the state, are in this situation where we're, you know, we're struggling for money. We need to find a way to let our legislators know that, you know, it's their responsibility to take care of the public school, and make sure that they're funded adequately. So is there some way that we can, as a board, advocate for ourselves? Is my question.
Yeah, I know. I mean, personally, I've written my letters.
Would it be impactful, more impactful, if we as a board sent a letter?
Probably.
Yeah.
All right.
Do that.
There are drafts out there. I mean, there's some of the stuff that I put in there, the legislative piece. There's sometimes, but now's the time, that's what we heard on Friday at the breakfast was, they're going to hear it from us, but they need to hear it from really the constituents. Like, they're on board, they know we're on board for the work that we do and the passion for our students, but they need to, it doesn't just need to be loud, it needs to be a lot. You know, so yes, sending will help, right? That all puts it on the radar, but it's everyone that they constantly get bombarded from to see that piece. So the recommendation was yes, continue to
If we could
send.
encourage you, members of the community, to reach out as well to, all of these people want to be elected again. And to be elected again, you have to serve the constituents.
So Melanie, let me look, I'll do a query this week with PSBA and see if there's any draft. At least starter points in terms of charter school reform letters and/or sometimes it could be not a proclamation, but a
Resolution.
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 Yeah, you know, that from the board.
All right. I also am going to put in for Keith and I was just writing something for the paper this week, so I'll put that in there. I'll get it started.
Okay,
First.
Thanks, Leah.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, thanks, Leah.
Okay. Committee members, we're good?
Good.
All right. Look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Plant some of those lemon trees.
Yeah. I was saying before you came in, I said, there was a Facebook post from somebody this morning that said, I'm going to look up because I didn't